Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Not Another Tooling Podcast with myself, Austin Pearson, and my wonderful co-host, Mr. Matt Malcolm. How are you today, Matt?
Good, I'm warm, rocking an open shirt, let some breeze in.
It is definitely warm in the UK right now, and we're not used to it. For all of those who live in countries with air conditioners, we just don't have that in the UK. So we're just all out buying fans everywhere.
It's out of stock, they get stock, and then they disappear again, and then they're overstock.
Exactly. It's the time of year to be a fan salesman for sure. Today we are going to talk about leadership in IT operations. So perhaps you lead a tooling team, perhaps you lead IT operations and tooling falls under your remit. But we've talked a lot about a lot of practical things in terms of tools and how you should approach them and whatever. But one of the things that both of us have seen many times is that the organizations that are really successful getting tooling right are the ones who have great leaders. And that leadership is often very much inclusive. It's very business and outcome driven. And these things make just such a world of difference. It's crazy. And I know we were talking earlier before we started, Matt, we were talking about, how you could potentially drive KPIs for the right leadership for a tooling team, which is definitely a good place to start. But I think my place to start is probably you need to have a North Star, right? A vision for your team, whether that's the whole IT ops team or the tooling team. The leaders I've worked with that have been the best have been, we have a vision. I have a clear vision for us as a team, and then we're all going to go towards that place, right? Whereas typically I think tooling teams are pretty reactive, right? And then you get a new tool in and you've got to get the most out of that, and you go around this circle and yada yada. There's very rarely this sort of North Star vision of how we're going to be the best tooling team. We're going to do this, we're going to do X and Y. I don't know. You got some thoughts?
A few, but I want to pick up on one of the earlier points you made around a good leader. From our experiences, what's a good leader? What's good? What's shit?
Really good question. So I think a great leader is a person who can get the most out of their people and can coach those people to be the best they can be. And if nobody's watched it, I would absolutely go and watch Ted Lasso for the best example of leadership there has been in the last few years.
Before.
It's a fantastic program about leadership. I would say. What would you add to that?
I mean, the pure leadership qualities, we could probably go on. Got one share next door. Go on for a while and those sort of things. I think when I'm looking at the origin of a good leader in this space is those ones that have been in the trenches, the technical trenches, so to speak, the ones that have been a developer or being an admin or a consultant or a X or a Y. And there are a plethora, certainly at our levels, where their leaders are sometimes assumed leadership. They come from another area and they've just assumed responsibility of a tooling team. Don't really know or understand what's happening below. But the best ones are the ones who've had, someone described what I needed to try to be at one point. I was looking for promotion in a previous company. You need to be this T-shape. So a plethora of understanding and then the deep. And then for me, the deep space was tooling and then a few niche areas. those ones who've got that deep space in the tooling space, those visibly have been the best tooling leaders that I've observed do their craft. The more core leadership qualities around people management and vision casting and all that kind of stuff, yes, that's more of a given. But I'm looking practically at, like, I could look at someone's CV and go, I think they're probably going to be the better leader for this team, purely because they've got that inclination of what's happening at those levels. They've been a guy on the service desk raising the calls. They've gone through and they've been the consultant on the ground when it's all gone pear-shaped, and they've worked till 3 a.m. every night trying to fix a problem. Those are the skills that are relevant within a tooling team leader that I think sets them apart. And then obviously the bit on top where you're coming at is the more core leadership qualities you'd expect. But I've seen all those avenues. I've seen good leaders that don't come from that background for sure. The ones who have had hands-on, understand things, they don't really care for it these days. They're not going to get their hands dirty, but the ones who know of it, those have been the best ones.
Yeah, I'd agree. And actually, there's just thinking of a project that I'm involved in at the moment, and probably the best quality this leader has is he's really, really effective at pushing back on the business who want everything now straight away, and they're putting a lot of demands on him. And I've seen a lot of people go, yeah, all right, yeah, let's try and do everything. And he just goes, no, we're not doing that. I need to protect my team because they're maxed out as it is. And I know the best way to implement these tools, and it isn't to do everything all at once. It's to pick off, get some value milestones done. And I think that's quite an unusual quality these days in leadership, is kind of pushing, especially at this level in IT operations. You just get dumped on day after day after day, right? Everything's going wrong. Everyone's screaming at you. And so the ability to push back and say, no, we're not doing that. We're not going 100 miles an hour. We're not buying every single module that the ITSM vendor has to offer us and putting it in by next week, to reference one of our previous podcasts. But yeah, no, I totally agree with that.
You touched on some words, not the exact words, but I guess if I was put into two buckets where you can observe what a good leader is good at versus not so good at, or what will trip one up, is either the reactive position or the proactive position. Yeah. Whether that proactive is as far as like that vision casting and that like big goal stuff, but more so just like the foresight to do things ahead of time, versus that dumped on scenario. Just by default, that leader is already in a reactive position, you know, and they might not have put themselves there, but they basically put themselves there by just accepting and being dumped on, constantly trying to firefight, whatever that firefighting looks like. Maybe the environment is going down the pan. Maybe they are getting all these new vendors coming in, the CIO and all that kind of stuff, but essentially they are in a reactive position. But the ones that are generally better and clearly operate better, more effectively across the business, those ones which are looking at it proactively, working to some North Star, as you alluded to at the beginning, or some notion of what's next and being there and working towards that, versus like what's next and getting fed, whatever that is. So the ones that are proactive, visibly you can see that. You don't even have to be in the conversation very long to understand, and it doesn't have to be a topic which would demonstrate that they're proactive. It could just be any random topic. You can instantly tell the ones who are in that mindset versus the ones that are just ready to get chatting again. What's next?
Yeah, and I think one thing that is almost seemingly impossible to do in IT operations, but really speaks to that, is the ability to carve out time to be able to have that thinking time and think about the future, right? Because most of us in IT ops are just 100 miles an hour all of the time. And therefore it's impossible to think about the future, and you could get dragged in. Most people's calendars have got, 3 meetings at once if you're in operations all day, every day. So to be able to kind of carve out a bit of time and space for you to be able to think about the future and what would what might be coming down the line is a really, really good thing to do, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
I think just want to go back. We mentioned KPIs earlier, and just a broader thing, I think, of those leaders. I agree, being in the trenches is really good, and it gives you what things are capable of and what the problems are, but being able to understand the business and what the business really needs to achieve, and ensuring that everything you're doing as a leader and your team are doing are aligned to the business goals and values is a massive thing that my experience says most people miss in IT ops. They're just buried in the day-to-day stuff, and the KPIs are uptimes of servers and first call resolution and things like that, versus, hang on a minute, what we're trying to do as a retailer right now is people aren't spending as much. We desperately need to drive profit and automate wherever we can. So let's have a focus on that and get some KPIs around that, and bring that value back to the business in a way that the business can see and understand what you and your team do, with some lovely dashboards or some metrics or something that says, here we go, here's our value back to the business. It's not just all about first call resolution or whatever it is.
It's the linkage back in it. And I know we talked a number of times making sure that goal stuff relates and all that jazz. We definitely had that conversation a number of times, haven't we? The powerful part, I guess, is converting the businessy goal thingy, whatever we want to call it, to the personal objective and goal. So we need to do this, which is, I don't know, we mentioned uptime and maybe number of instance, whatever the metric comes down to, which isn't the starting point. The starting point is more broad. Eventually we'll get down to a measurability thing. We need that measurability thing to be translated to the individuals who support it. So if I was looking at some sort of cascade, you'll be at that very high level goal and strategy, all the rest of that good stuff, down to some measurable thing, whatever that is, a technology based thing, a process based thing. And then I want a dotted line across that to the leadership function of that tooling space, which will have a responsibility to churn so many X and reduce this by Y and whatever it is. But they've translated that technical thing into a personal deliverable. These are the things that, do they get promotion this year, territory, whatever that looks like. And then what I'd be expecting at that point, then the difference between a good leader, because all that can take place with a crap leader. The difference between then a good leader and a bad leader is this leader then works out, of these 10 widgets that I'm personally responsible for, actually those 3 widgets are going to be that person, and these 4 that one, and that 3, and work out to split and best people manage those individual things that they need to deliver across the team, and then let them manage. And then they might do it again further. So if the hierarchy was upper management through to some sort of team leadership function, then from there, that might be product owners, managers, maybe, depending on how an organization operates, not all the same. By down there, it might be the delivery folks. Eventually, we'll get down to like admin level people. So as long as the leader, that middle person, can understand how to translate the thing from over here to over here, and then how to disseminate across the team, that's like a good inclination of a leader, a good leader, because they're not trying to do it all themselves. Look, the wall behind me, that LMD, it's not like some acronym for a business or whatever. It's leverage, manage, do. The whole purpose is anything that's going to be taken up on that board, I'm going to leverage someone else to do it, or I manage it myself, or finally I'll do it. So that leader in the middle needs to look at these things and go, well, am I going to do it all? Which somebody needs to try to do everything. And it's good. It's a good heart. Wrong idea. They need to leverage it all out through the team that they've got, or degrees of coaching and managing things. And then finally they'll do the bits they need to. But that thought process isn't taken for a lot of managers. But the difference of a great one and a not so great one are the ones that go, what's the workload? Oof, get rid of it. Not me. Someone else. You're on that meeting. You're on that meeting. I'll manage you. You need coaching. You need a call. You need some help. Okay, cool. But I'm not that person. That's a good difference. Rattled on a bit there, but hopefully you get the point.
But I agree. And actually, I think you start talking about personal goals there, and that ability to translate down to each individual person of this is the impact you're making on the business, and helping align that with what sets them on fire is a long forgotten thing, but absolutely incredible if you can get it right. And that's saying, don't just give the logging project to the guy who technically knows logging, because actually he might just be bored senseless with logging, and he might want to do X or Y, whatever. But try and understand what sets your people on fire. Like for me, it's dead easy. I love helping people, right? I'd rather do that than pretty much anything else on the planet. So if my boss calls me and says, hey, I need you to help out somebody, I'm like, I will drop everything and do that. Whereas if he says, I need you to go sell a load of software, I'm like, all right, yeah, whatever. And it's the same in our teams, right? Particularly in IT ops, right? We're so disconnected from what we actually do, but actually what we do is super important. And even level 1 help desk person, right? You might be helping the CEO get his laptop working so he can do a presentation to announce to the world your new product that's going to cure cancer or something, right? But you're just sat there going, you've got a problem with Windows, all right, script, yada, yada, yada. But actually, if you align it with what's really going on, then you get up in the morning and like, oh, I'm excited about this, right? We're putting this new tooling in, or we're getting them doing this new tooling project because we're going to help our company do this, and these people are going to get more out of it. And it's like, this is really cool. Whereas for somebody else, it might be the opposite, and they're just like, I want to get a load of certifications. I want to be the best logging expert there is on the planet. That's my game, whatever. Understanding those people and aligning them to what you could do is incredible, I think.
And there's two phrases that come to mind with that. I guess one falls into the sort of emotional intelligence space, to understand what that conversation and how that relationship works. And there's another one, I might get the saying wrong, but I'll hopefully get the meaning correct. Sensory acuity, I think.
Okay.
I think that's right. But essentially understanding that situation, like you're having that conversation with somebody and you're understanding that they don't really care about the bonus. What they want to do is be voted best customer success, whatever. Like they want the recognition versus the money. Well, these guys actually, they've got 3 years left to retire, so they just want to do some cool stuff before they retire. And actually, their passion is marketing, or could be moving them into the marketing department. But sensory, I think acuity is the phrase, and I could be wrong. But then in that, you're understanding just more than the surface level conversation. But these are all solid traits of a general good leader, or be it tooling or ex-leader. Understanding that the human level, above and beyond the, right, what's the target for this year? No, ones and zeros. No. Actually, what's the emotion behind it? What we're trying to achieve. But that's a super hard trait, and it can be learnt. There is a skill to build on, but it ain't one overnight you get for a lot of leadership folks. Most of leadership is put into position, don't really want to be there. A lot of it, essentially counting your time in a lot of places. A lot of organisations, but everyone's sad.
Management versus leadership, I think.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Right. We have covered a lot today, and we could probably go on for a very long time as usual about this stuff. But today we have been talking about leadership, leading tooling teams in IT operations. We talked about the best leaders being typically T-shaped, so broad, but also deep as well. And a lot of them have typically been in the space before. Maybe they started on the help desk or they've worked in the knock or whatever. So they've got an understanding of technically what is possible, and what the challenges are that the team face. But then being able to take that and translate that to a trackable value to the business, and being able to carve out some time so that you can be a reactive, not a be a proactive, even not a reactive leader, so that you can see what's possibly coming down the line is great. And then not taking everything on yourself. LMD, leverage, manage, do. Make sure that you're there to help and coach your team, and that they're the doers, or the managers and then the doers. And then understanding the personal side of the business as well. So what is it that sets your people on fire, and how do you help them get the most out of their job and get them excited, turning up passionate every day about whether it's being a level 1 help desk operator or running a global knock, not just coming to work and doing the same old stuff, but doing stuff that sets people on fire, and roots back to the values that you're bringing to the business and the North Star vision that you've created for them. That was a lot a lot of that.
That's a lot of summary. That was like an episode in itself.
I know. I know. I love this stuff, right? Because these are the bits when you go into a client and you find a great leader who is willing to go on a journey and transform operations. Like, this is brilliant, versus the ones that are just doing the same old stuff. And you can see it in the results that they get. They're the ones that buy a new tool every 3 years. So they get the value out of the last one, and they've got a high turnover of staff. So it's super important.
I want to just come back to one point. Although we're advocating that we want a proactive leader for sure, I tell you what's like a wicked skill is, because you need to be able to react, right? Like, someone's going to go bang and you got to do some stuff. But like you want the leader so good that it looks like from the surface that they are reacting to something and just dealing with it. Like, wow, they've dealt with that, they've responded, they've reacted really well. But they are that far proactive, they are that well prepared that was almost seen, right? They just knew what was happening and knew it was coming. And then there was that proactive, they just managed it as if it was BAU territory. That's like, when you see that level of skill of a leader, that ain't me, by the way. Like, that level of skill, that's amazing to see. You're thinking, like, head to hand of that situation. Oh yeah, well, back in 1999, when blah 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 blah, like that level of leader, they're just so well prepared. It looks very reactive when things go pop, but it's just like, that's beautiful to see.
That's a massive life skill, actually, and not just leadership, of just being able to take a breath when it all goes wrong, and then go, okay, all right, let's not panic. We got this. We've been here before. It's just another P1 incident or whatever it is. And yeah, you got it going. So nice. Wonderful. Thank you very much, my friend. That was great. Really enjoyed that.
Good stuff.
We'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to put your comments in the comment section, obviously, or drop us a message if you've got any thoughts on leadership, anything. I'm sure we've missed plenty, or maybe some books or podcasts that you love on this subject. We'd love to hear about them. So thank you very much for watching. We'll see you on the next episode. Take care.
Bye.